All right, here we're done here. Talking about the 3.10 patch notes. The new Horns of the Reach DLC game pack, which is coming out in September, October. I probably should read through the patch notes to find out. But it's coming up here, and it's on the PTS now. Remember, anything we discuss here right now is not what the finished product is going to be. Typically, what happens is after they release something here and make changes, they go back and make more changes on top of that, usually about 2 to 3 weeks after we give feedback. That's usually the development cycle to do it. In addition to that, we have a few things that are this patch here is coming up is going to be 2 dungeons and a quality of life pack update here, which is going to change some of the current traits and metas as well. I get told it's late August. Okay, so late August. I'm surprised it's so soon, right after Morrowind, but it's their stuff. Anyway, let's get ourselves started here and discuss a little bit of this. Okay, so we're looking at 3.1.0, and again, welcome to Elder Scrolls Online Horns of the Reach DLC game pack. Yay! This update comes with 2 parts, DLC and a base game patch, which we already went over. Anyone who owns ESO and ESO Plus will automatically have access to ESO DLC. If you have a Plus membership ends or lapse, you'll no longer have access to this. You know the deal, guys. If you don't have ESO Plus, you have to buy this a la carte. They're also including new Battleground maps, Arcane University, and a new Battlegrounds mode, Chaos Fall. This is going to be available if you have Morrowind, but not if you have the base game, and is not included as part of the DLC. Got that? All right. The base game features all new features with updates to the Master Merchant, RIP Merchant, new housing furnishings, numerous new quality of life improvements, customizable combat queues, new guild features, research canceling, banquet vouchers, and alliance points, and more. As always, we made several fixes to improve the existing content as well. So we're going to be looking at tonight here, but for right now, this is just basically the long, boring lecture about what's coming up here. And I'm going to try highlighting only what most people are going to be asking me. If you have other questions later on, you can read these patch notes yourself. But if you were looking to listen to this while you're kind of chilling out, well, let's go over it. You also notice that we have a separate combat game queue section of the patch notes. So, yeah, Gina's just saying that it's separating it. This patch note size, the download size is going to be 2.3 gigabytes. It's probably going to be larger at launch. So, leave this on over the day here if you have a slow connection, but most of you should have at least several megs connection here if you're playing an online MMO. Alright, so we have 2 new dungeons, Bloodroot Forge, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Falkhoff Hold. Okay. So, in both of these, basically we're fighting the Reachmen, and we're going to be fighting Minotaurs, who've joined together to cause some mayhem inside of these areas. Bloodroot Forge is Southern Craglorn, and Falkhoff Hold is Eastern Gate of Elenir, which I'm going to guess is Eastmarch. Both dungeons include a normal and veteran mode. Yep, there's going to be new Undaunted sets and mass. As with most dungeons here, there's going to be at least a medium, heavy, and light, and a monster helm for both. So you're going to be looking at 6 new sets and 2 new dungeon helms with this. You also have new achievements here, which is going to give you a skin, hat, several titles, and a unique housing item, which is kind of nice that they're including this now. Now, new collectibles: Bullhorn's emote when you actually come in. Collectible furnishings display a trophy. Basically, when you kill the boss, you get a trophy. You get 1 for normal and 1 for veteran. Dreadhorn Shaman skin obtained by completing the Falkhoff Hold Challenger achievement. Keptu Horn Skull Salet obtained through Bloodroot Forge Challenger achievement. All right, new sets. So I will say there is some interesting sets with this patch here, and I think that this may change some of the meta, but we'll discuss this a little bit more. Falkhoff Hold, the light armor, a Draugr, magic recovery, healing done. When you deal damage a fully charged heavy attack, you create a circle of consecrated ground that heals you and your allies within 5 meters for 11,000 health for 10 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 10 seconds. I'm gonna say that sounds like a pretty good healer meta build. Um, but I get a little concerned here. I mean, this is only 1,100 health, but I could see somebody using this in PvP and just constantly spamming this over and over again, keeping this up with heavy attacks, and just make an unkillable build with Templars or Wardens, just constantly using this. So, potentially dangerous. This might get nerfed a little bit later, but it's interesting to say the least. Given the fact that it's a heal from an armor, though, this is probably going to have other issues because typically any type of proc doesn't crit and it doesn't scale. So it may be good or bad because on the one part, it's not going to be too overpowered for healers, but for somebody that's just running like full health sets, like a full Plague Doctor set, that's kind of a big heal for some of those guys. Pillar of Nirn, medium. Stamina, weapon critical, weapon damage. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create a fissure underneath the enemy for 1 second, dealing 2,000 physical damage to all enemies in 2.5 meters, and cause them to bleed for an additional 8,000 physical damage over 10 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 10 seconds. Interesting. However, before you freak out about this saying it's too underpowered, I will say there is other stuff that we're going to get into this patch notes here that show that they made other changes to proc sets, which falls in line with this current set. I don't know if it's going to be overpowered or not. I have the feeling it's not going to be. It's going to be more of a PvE base than a PvP base. But again, let's read on, see some more stuff here. Iron Blood, heavy. Max health, physical resistance, spell resistance, and then 5. When you take damage, you have an 8% chance to turn your blood into pure iron and gain major protection for 10 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 30%. But your movement speed is reduced by 75%. This effect can only occur once every 15 seconds. I like this, but I do have issues with it. It's a little bit overpowered. The stance is really low. In addition to that, you can get this ability through other means, ultimates and other things like that. So it may or may not be that great, especially when people can stack it on top with other things. However, I do like the concept of it. Notice that you're getting a benefit from it, and you're getting that reduction on movement speed. So you're getting a debuff from it as well. Anything where you have a proc set like this, I think it's good to put in, like, give something, take something like this. If we can see more sets like this or more sets balanced like this, I think we'd have a few more interesting builds, to say the least. So, let's get to the Monster Helm. The 1, stamina and then magicka, and then 2, when you deal damage, you have 50% chance to create either a ring of fire or a ring of molten earth around you for 10 seconds, which deals 1,000 flame damage or 1,000 physical damage every 1 second. So 10,000 damage overall. Standing in the ring grants you 200 spell damage or 200 weapon damage. This effect can only occur once every 15 seconds. Very interesting. It's definitely a hybrid build. I'll say this. The way I'm reading this right now here, okay? Standing within the ring grants you 200 spell damage or 200 weapon damage. I can't see why you wouldn't be in that ring. So the way I'm reading that is anyone who's standing in that is going to be getting 200 spell damage or 200 weapon damage. If that's the case, that's a new meta set right there. I think that a lot of people will be using that for trials if you're getting either 200 spell damage or 200 weapon damage. Just given out for whoever's using that. Tanks would use this, or healers would use this. And yeah, that right there would be a good thing. I mean, ignore the damage here. Just giving the boost of 200 weapon damage or spell damage to a group. Really good reason to use that. The physical damage and the flame damage, just kind of extra icing on the cake, really. Now, if you're actually can only get this for your character, not so great, I would say. There's a few builds you may be able to use this for, but hybrid builds simply do not work in PvE the way they have it set up right now. When you take a look at hybrid builds, typically you're looking at either you have three things that you have to build for on either side. You have to either build spell damage, magical critical, and magicka, or you have to build up weapon damage, physical penetration, and weapon critical. You typically can't get all 6 going at once. You have to go with one or the other, etc., like that. If you didn't have the stamina and magicka affecting your weapon damage and your spell damage so much, it may not be as big of an issue because, you could easily use the spell damage or weapon damage flipping back and over, and you even have a set that will equal out your weapon damage and spell damage based on the higher value, so it wouldn't make that much of a difference. However, it's just not going to be viable, I don't think, for PvE. PvP, be interesting, I would say. Not sure if it's going to be great. You could also possibly use this for a bomb build, using it with something like a Clever Alchemist and Vicious Death. And let's see, what else? Yeah, use this on top of it. Pop a potion, run into the group there. But there's not many synergy abilities, or I should say AoE abilities that you'd use on the physical side to really warrant it. So, I mean, you just stack up your magic builds or your magicka and your spell damage to just bomb the group. So, again, I can see where it would have uses if this 200 spell damage, this 200 weapon damage is giving it to the group. If it's just going to be you solo, not seeing where that's going to fit in right now, but that's my opinion. Maybe min-maxers are going to find some way to break this and make this even better. Now, Bloodroot Forge. Oh, this has some nice sets, I will say that. I previewed this already. So, Flame Blossom, light. Magicka, spell damage, spell penetration. Okay, very few sets that give spell penetration. Now, when you deal damage, you have 10% chance to summon a line of flames that move forward, dealing 8,000 flame damage to any enemy in its path. This can occur every 10 seconds. I say this is pretty good because you already have a meta right now for a couple range builds, and this just adds to that right here. This 8,000 flame damage into anyone in the path there. Depending on how far this reaches, it's going to be, I think that's going to be pretty good. Blood Drinker. Weapon critical, weapon damage, weapon critical. Like it so far. 5. Increases the damage you deal with your bleed over time effects by 20%. I think that one's going to be big. You're doing 20%. Anytime that you see a percentage increase on a certain type of damage, that's usually one to look out for. 20% on top of bleed is important because there are several abilities inside the stamina builds toolbox that will do bleed damage, and this one here can be a real nasty one, I'd say. You have things like Blood Craze, which heals you and also does bleeding damage on top of that. You have the Cleave ability. You have even the Maelstrom two-hander, which will give an extra dot when you do crit rush on top of enemies as well. So I'm just thinking of a few bleed abilities overall that are going to get some nasty benefit from this. Class abilities, I have to look through and see which ones specifically give bleed damage, but I think this one's going to be one to watch out for. Hagraven's Garden. This one I think is going to be extremely annoying in PvP. People are going to be complaining about this for a while. So, max health, health recovery, healing taken. When you take damage when you're under 50%, again, no proc chance on this, just below 50%, you summon Preservation of Nature around you for 5 seconds. Any damage taken from enemies outside the preservation is reduced by 50%, and the first time enemies try to enter the preservation, they get knocked back 5 meters. This effect can only occur once every 45 seconds. So, again, you summon Preservation of Nature around you for 5 seconds. Any damage you take from enemies outside the preservation is 50%. I don't know if this is going to stack with other players, but if it does, that's going to be extremely broken. You can just imagine, like, a group of Templars, 1 or 2 of these guys are wearing this. get hit below 50% here, and they just have an unstoppable bubble that no one can break into. If it can only cure to you, still, it's nasty. You don't want to have to deal with somebody that's knocking everyone back the first time they come in. So, I think this is probably going to get nerfed before the end of this, but we'll see. Earthgore. Okay, this is a healing type helm, and I think this is going to be really beneficial to certain healers here. So, number 1 is healing done, and number 2, when you heal a friendly target that's under 50% health, you conjure a pool of blood, a pool of quenching blood underneath them, which soaks up the enemy's placed soaks up enemy placed effects instantly and heals all friendly targets in the area for 30,000 health over 3 seconds. 10,000 health every 1 second. This effect can only occur once every 35 seconds. That is broken as fuck right there. That is going to get nerfed something bad, I think. Because, again, it's 30,000 gold, assuming no spell damage, buffs, or anything else like that. That's an entire health bar to your damage healers in, like, just PvP. Imagine, like, everyone running that. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely in PvP, that's going to be... You're not getting anyone out of that. On top of that, that's just broken right there, I think. I think that's gonna have to be nerfed a little bit more than that. Additionally, in raids, that can be a lifesaver right there. Like VDSA or veteran DSA, that's definitely gonna be a lifesaver. Some of the execute phases, that's gonna be a lifesaver as well. That's basically like that's like putting a health barrier on top of everything else. Kind of surprised they put this in there. All right, now new Battlegrounds mode, Chaos Ball. New game mode is being introduced, but Battlegrounds got a bag called Chaos Ball, added into the rotation for all maps. The mode includes a single ball in the game, and your team earns points by holding the ball. So basically rugby. You can carry the ball around and use your abilities freely. There's no requirements for scoring other than you holding it as long as you can. Holding the ball comes at a cost. As the chaos will stack healing and shield debuffs, as well as pulsing oblivion damage to all allies in the area, including the ball carrier. There are no sigil powers in this game mode. The game ends when the team has scored 500 points or the match hits a 15-minute mark. So again, Templars are probably going to dominate this, especially with heals and the ability just simply to keep themselves up. Even with the oblivion damage coming out here, I'm going to be hard pressed to see if they can do it. Now, new Battleground map, Arcane University. Arcane University is now Battleground map. All game modes, including Chaos Ball, are now active in the new zone. You do not need the Imperial City DLC game pack to play the Arcane University, but you do need Morrowind. Access the University to function identically to all Battlegrounds by using the party system through Group Team tool. Miscellaneous background updates, new battleground medals for supporting Chaos Ball. You earn medal ticks for scoring while holding Chaos Ball. You earn additional medals for holding it for at least 30, 60, and 90 seconds. The time for the medals are awarded when the ball is dropped at the end of the match. Healing medals have also been adjusted to trigger out the lower values across all game modes. This should give a result of more medals earned for support play. Yay! 3 new motifs, Halu, Redoran, and Talvani motifs are now available in Mandfall. So if you like some of the costumes that you had in Morrowind, now you can actually craft in them. You can get these through picking pockets, stealing from the safe boxes, and looting thieves' trolls behind fellow members of the Thieves Guild. So basically, steal a lot, and you'll be able to get that. Okay, base game patches. This is going to be some fun stuff, and even if you don't have Morrowind, or if you don't plan to get this DLC, this is going to affect you guys. So 1, miscellaneous quality of life improvements, guilds. Guild invites and guild invite acceptations are now in the guild history, so now you can see why Bob invited Steve when Steve was an asshole. Good to know. Added guild bank permission and view guild bank gold, so you can control who can see how much gold you have in there. Crafting and enchanting. Now you can cancel active research, which I know some people have been looking for, but it does consume the item when you cancel it. Items can now be locked or unlocked from the improvement screen. Locked items can also be improved, but only if the chance is at 100%, which is, I think that's okay. That's a good improvement. Equipped items can now be improved. Yay! You would no longer be warned if that an item can be destroyed when you upgrade to upgrade chances 100%. Makes sense. Enchanting at locked items will now require an additional confirmation. Right. Gameplay. We've added a new setting, combat cues, in the gameplay menu to allow you to control the color and brightness of friendly and hostile combat cues. Enjoy! So everyone that's colorblind out there, rejoice. You have a way now to change this to make the combat cues a little bit easier to see. I know that's been an issue for a few of my friends who've had issues seeing when red and green cues are coming up in certain areas. So this is hopefully going to help alleviate that. Also gives a little nice touch so you can modify things a little bit more. Damage over time abilities are now displayed. Now display the number of hits you receive with the ability next to the death recap UI, which I'll never see because I never die. Itemization. Furniture listed in the guild store now be previewed. All added a warning for buying it on equip when the blue quality on items that are blue quality or higher. Okay. You can now deposit alliance points and RIP vouchers in your account bank where they may be withdrawn from your other characters. Note, a character receiving alliance points in this fashion will not increase their alliance skill rank or progress in your alliance skill war lines. Okay, makes sense. And this is something I know a lot of people have been waiting for. I've been waiting for because, I mean, I have a lot of characters here, and one of the reasons I did was one of the annoyances I have with RIP vouchers is I have several alt characters, which I didn't necessarily want to do everything for here, but when they put the RIP vouchers all onto one character, like I could no longer transfer my enchanting and my potion making into my main character, which was really freaking annoying. Crown store categories, new items have new items in them and new indicators next to them. Okay. Reporting players says reporting a player will now also ignore them when the ticket is submitted. Makes sense because how many times have they come back and they said, "Oh, you have an issue with this guy? Yeah, you have an ignore feature you should be using." That makes sense. Time to swap green for red for the combat cues. Yeah, that's gonna be hilarious. Yeah, if you could get into your friend's account there, swap red for green, that would be excellent. Updates for Wallace Halu, the Master Rip Merchant. So his inventory got updated. He has gold furnishing plans, which now be replaced with new stock. So there's now new gold quality furnishing plans for each profession available. The previous available recipes were retired for the time being, though they may show up again at some point when future selection or elsewhere. All right. New furnishings. Number of new recipes have been added to the game. Attainable by participating in the various activities throughout the world. These include, but not limited to, harvesting certain types of nodes or resource, or in certain areas, participating in the justice system, and defeating enemies in the new Horns of the Reach dungeons, Cold Harbor, and Iliad Ruins. Champion point increase. Champion points have been raised by a total 30 points. Champion point experience curve has been automatically adjusted for the new cap. So the early I can't speak tonight. So that the earlier champion points require less experience. So you low the champion people, you're gonna get another boost. Okay, there's templates here you guys don't care about. Known issues, housing. Player-owned housing will come in update 15, which is currently inaccessible, but will be available in the next PTS batch. All right. Alliance War PvP, rename the battlegrounds, capture the flag to capture the relic. Right, makes sense. Fix the UI related to the rewards earned at the end of battlegrounds would overlap in the elements of the battlegrounds scoreboard. Makes sense. Art and animation. Corrected several minor issues across Vanderfall. Corrected issues were Vanderfall rugs. Yep. Figure. Fix some of the missing textures in Dwarven Colossus. Vivek's underwear is now the same color as his loincloth for those who previously checked. Fix numerous gas clipping and distorting when occurring in buoyant armor. You'll no longer see the error message. I just like the fact Vivek's underwear is now the same color as his loincloth. How many people were checking? Let's be honest. If you're looking at this on YouTube, I want to see a comment here if you actually were checking. You will no longer see an error message when you see visual effects like Ashlander Ruby Ash Staff. Fix an issue with the Redoran Heavy Armor, which would be floating pieces of the left gauntlet equipped to female characters. NPCs. Cyril will no longer be carrying an invisible platter. Constable Doran will no longer wield a sword strangely. Ashlanders have discovered how to use bowls. Oh my god, the savages have learned how to use bowls. So amazing. Fix the issues of Veyarelis weapons with clip or float. Elfbeta, the Shy's eye will not properly center on her face. Foreman Laughter will no longer walks off in the middle of conversation during the town without purpose. Milvono Arthram now appears with props. Yay! Numerous NPCs in Vanderfall now respond properly when attacked from a distance. Fixing an issue where preventing some of the citizens of Vex City from being able to properly fight some creatures. Warden game balances. So this is going to apply only to Warden. There are other changes to other classes in a bit. And all companions. Cutting Dive morph. This morph can now be cast when you're silenced. Subterranean Assault, Scorch morph. This ability can now be cast while you're silenced. These are 2 stamina abilities, so that makes sense. Green Balance, Budding Seeds, Healing Seed morph. This morph can now be cast even if you have the enemy targeted in your reticle. Nature's Gift, updated the passive tooltip to indicate the cooldown. Winter's Brace, Crystallized Shield, updated these abilities and its morph's tooltips to indicate when the maximum damage they can absorb with a single projectile. Warden, bug fixes. Green Balance, Healing Bug, fix grammatical error to the tooltip for this ability and its morphs. Fix the issue with the Nature's Grasp. Fix the issue with this ability and its morphs would be cast on certain critters. Winter's Embrace, Frozen Gate, fix grammatical error in the abilities tooltips. Monsters, made a whole bunch of changes here. Monster abilities, Cliffstrider, Slash now produce audio. Oh god. Iron Atronachs are no longer vulnerable to fire. That's going to be kind of rough on some flame mages. World bosses. Nothing really major there. Fix numerous camera issues. Alchemy, fix the issue with certain type of mud crabs. And Morrowind would not drop mud crab chitin. Crafting motifs, updated the title of Buoyant Armature motif to include the missing word buoyant. Crafting motifs, unified the behavior of crafting writ delivery system in Vex City. These sites now consistently use rank 1 writs instead of a mix of rank 1 with maximum rank writs. Fixing issue with crafting certification quests that appeared earlier than intended. Now it appears at level 6 for all cases. Public dungeons. Fixing issue where you can get knocked back through doors. You can no longer mount in the public dungeons and Forgotten Wastes there. Nutrilift. Fixing issue would be knocked back through doors. Okay. Trials. Incomprehensible artifact. Now find Halls of Fabrication is now appropriate flavor text for its incomprehensibility. Standardize the amount of treasure chest spawn in Halls of Fabrications to be consistent with previous trials. Exploration optimization. Fix an issue where 6th House robe would hide your facial hair when equipped. When you look through your face through the visible. Okay. Waterlog Strongbox and good travel notes will now be bind on pickup, so you can no longer sell those. Achievements. Fix the issue with killing the Nyx ox livestock to advanced poultry assassin instead of the ground beef achievement. But it still tastes like chicken. Housing. Furnishings. Tapestries more on time. Now probably is now the appropriate icon. Renamed. Fixed an issue. Yep. Homes. Fixed an issue. We can see part of the thing. Justice system. Several NPCs in Vanderfall no longer speak to you when you're notorious. Some will commit on how shady you are, while others will have more extreme reactions when witnessing your criminal activity. Slaves are now easier to steal from. You monster. Nobles will now have slightly more difficult to steal from. Many mages in the zone will now are now alert to thieves. Pickpocket at your own peril. Voss storehouse is now trespassing location. Fixing issue resulting you occasionally being witnessed with opening illicit goods while in the outlet law refuge. Big surprise. Created several minor issues. Let's say flex placement. Yep. Quests and zones. Polish the timer and voiceover for Crystal Theater scenes. Numerous issues with quest plans. Face issues with voiceovers. Fix quest items. Fix several books. Fix typos. Fix several issues with the invitation to Morrowind. Random encounters with two members of the same house will meet. No longer grant experience. Due to the rather unfortunate scene events, Tordil Gals has been sacked from his position as a magister in the Vivek City and the Mages Guild. Aww. Assistant Marin has returned to the work of Library of Vivek. Don't ask her for a vacation because he's not talking about it. You can no longer be knocked back through the doors in Shulk or Mine. Delves. Fixing the issue where you could attack monsters without being attacked back. You can no longer mount in this delve. You'll now spawn faster for those who do not have the Pulk achievement. Impassable areas in the delve will now be correctly marked on the map. Nick sounds in this area will now properly animate when attacking. Filling the magma now hurts now, as it should. You can no longer mount inside this delve. Okay. Questing, creeping hungers, yada yada yada. I'll leave that guys for you guys to find out. UI. Stalkin has now advertising might be helping the Vivek City. And I'll put in a shop in his banner. Update Shulk all mines load screen to reflect the mine. Maps. Yep. Okay. Dark Brotherhood. Texture seam. Combat and gameplay. Bounty Hunter. Basilisk Powders, etc. Imperial City. Okay, Imperial City Dungeon Prison. Reduce the amount of monsters and the overfeeding calls for assistance. Reduce the health of the Lord Overlord's Dust clones. I should mention as well, some of the DLC dungeons are going to get a nerf here. You're going to see some changes here that are going to be making it easier. So if you haven't tried some of these dungeons because it just seemed too difficult, you haven't been queuing for them because even though they're on the pledges, get ready to try them again. They're going to get a little bit more balanced out, and you're going to see some of the harder content coming in with this new stuff. So, Imperial City, White Gold Tower. 2 players can now receive the Moth Priestess vision instead of just one throughout the entire encounter. That's going to be a lot easier for those people who just don't pay attention when their screen goes black and white. Plain Meld Rifts are now easier to target. Plain Meld Rifts are now have less health in veteran mode. Telvar jewelry in the lockbox merchants now sell necklaces directly with no intervening box, aka no more RNG. So if you're looking to get something like Black Rose in rings and necklace, hold off until this next patch because now you can just buy it directly, and this is gold jewelry too. The cost remains the same though. It is 100,000 Telvar stones. As a result of these changes, the vendors are now known as Telvar jewelry merchants. Okay. I will mention as well, before you go off and buy that stuff or get ready to buy that stuff, there's a couple itemization changes that are coming up in these patch notes too. Okay, quests. Speaking of the dead. Yep. Arsenium game pack. Public dungeon, Rickliff, armor. Yep. Item sets. Weapons and armor for Briarheart, Mark of the Pariah, and Trinamax sets now drop a full set of normal traits. This does not include Nirnhond, however. Fix the issue where the restoration path of Pariah was bind on pickup. Now let's bind on equip. Okay. No changes, it looks like, to VMA, though. Shadows of the Hist improvement. So if you haven't been doing Cradle of Shadows, Ruse and Mataton, again, more nerfs. Reduce the damage to Dranos Orbis Spite and Wrath and Mafala's abilities. Veladreth. Increase the amount of cast time for Corpulence and Gotta Bile. Gotta Bile now places a visual effect on the player Veladreth is targeting, so you can see who's going to get it. Decrease the amount of decrease how much stamina and magicka is drained from the disease spores. Morphine's no longer cast Searing Bond. I don't know how many times that ability has just killed people because they don't realize they need to split up, or because it's like the entire area is filled with AoEs and it's hard to move around. But getting rid of that is definitely going to make this a lot easier for folks. Shadow Spine now does less damage in normal and veteran. So people who move around when she says don't move a muscle, now you can actually get through this. But of course, damage in hard mode, when hard mode is enabled, is unchanged. Because if you do in hard mode, you should already know, don't move. Runes of Mataton. Zigzag Sledgehanger will no longer have, will no longer clear any taunt debuffs after completing a Pharaoh Blitz ability. Zolnira the Slaver. Increase the time, cast time of Brutal Bellow. Increase the visual intensity of the Swamp Slice when it's on the ground. Zelnir will no longer become immune to taunt when casting Monstrous Blitz. He will charge his target, but now he goes back to the whoever taunted him when it completes. Zelnir will now be casting Monstrous Blitz less often as well. Housing. Furnishings, fix issues. Okay. So Thieves Guild DLCs. Figure, fix it, watch, heavy clipping, itemization, adjust the description for Draw Monster skins, no longer appears to reference Champion 160, justice system, certain servants of Hughes Bane were carrying items according to, associated with addicts. They keep their habit, no longer carrying these items. Yay, they went to AA. Prison Break, we're in servant disguise, obtained from the long game quest, no longer counts as being disguised in this quest. Combat balance. So, this is going to be for everyone here, despite if you have DLC or not. This is going to affect everyone here, so get ready for some changes. Wait for the min-maxers to take a look at it. Also wait about 2 weeks and we'll probably see more changes on top of this. But for now, they adjusted the elemental status effects such as burning and concussion. So it now stacks with your scale with your max magicka or max stamina, in addition to your spell damage and weapon damage. Their damage has all been adjusted due to the new scaling and now should remain relatively unchanged, with the exception of burning, which now deals the appropriate double damage of before. Burning now lasts 4 seconds and ticks every 2 seconds. Previously, it lasted 3 seconds and ticked every 1.5 seconds. The total damage ticks remains unchanged, so spread it out a little bit more. Poison now deals damage every 6 seconds, down from 12 seconds. Concussion and chilled secondary effects, minor vulnerability and minor main, now last 4 seconds, down from 6 seconds and 5 seconds respectively. Alright. Summoning pets from the abilities and item sets now move 10% faster. Dodge rolling now grants immunity to mobilizations when it is used when you are silenced. Dragonite. Ardent Flame. This passive now increases the burning and poisoned by 25 and 50%, down from 33 to 66%. Draconic Power. Dark Talons. This ability and Choking Thorns morph is now magic damage instead of physical damage. Makes sense. Earthen Heart, Obsidian Shard, Stone Fist morph. Increase the radius of the heal of this morph from 10 meters. 28 meters from 10 meters. It's actually kind of big.
Shit.
Sorcerer, Stormcalling, Surge. This ability is morphs. Now use your highest critical strike rating, determining this critical strike chance. That's going to be a buff for a lot of min-maxers and also hybrid builds in general are going to get a big buff from that. I'm kind of surprised they did this, but then they kind of like reduced the DK a bit. Weird. Werewolf. Updated some of the animations for certain werewolf abilities to improve their response time when reaving them through all the abilities. So that's going to get stronger for them. Guild. Mage's Guild. Fire Rune. This ability is more now are now hidden to enemy player characters. That's nice. That's going to be fun when you go off and you... I'll do another video on this, but a fun thing to do when you're trying to siege a keep is getting right under the parapets and tossing a fire rune on there. Typically what will happen is somebody will jump off with it and land on their feet on the ground and then get themselves killed. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, buffs and major debuffs. Major and minor defile. This debuff now decreases the enemy's health recovery in addition to decreasing their health healing recede. Yay! We now have counterplay to some of the troll builds that are in the low B PvP and the high B PvP areas. So maybe we'll see a decline on those builds. Though at the same time, we need to have more abilities that can do major and minor defile to kind of give good good counters to this as well. Remember, major defile is only 40%. Minor is only about 15%, and even with the champion point passives, I don't know if that's going to be enough to make this really great.
Bravo, this shit.
Sorry about that. Just to make sure that I have something else going in there, being caught by the audio there. All right. Munda Stones. The values and bonuses for Munda Stones have now been adjusted in the following ways. The listed values in are for CP 160 players. Okay. This is going to be fun. A lot of people were complaining at various points. The Munda Stones have way too much meta going into either getting the Thief or... the Shadow. But now with some of these changes here, this is going to change some of that up. I don't know how much is going to change it up. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse for some people. However, we'll take a look at it. Apprentice increases spell damage to 238 from 167. Same with the Atronach in terms of magic recovery. The Lady now grants spell resistance and physical resistance. The value is also going to increase to 2,752 from its respective on 1980. The Lover now grants 2,752 physical and spell penetration instead of granting spell resistance. I don't know. I out of all the Munduses that Zos had to choose from, why did they choose the Lover to give increase to spell to penetration? Lover, penetration. Are they trolling us here, or is that something that... It makes sense, I guess. The Lord. Increases the magic max health from to 2,231 from 1,452. Good. The Mage increased the match magicka from 2,028 to from 1,320. Hi, honey. Going to bed? Oh, see how you feel. Serpent stamina recovery increased to 238. Same as the same as the Atronach. The Steed increased the health recovery to 238 from 167. I'm actually surprised this is only 238, but I guess the Steed does have that speed increase too, so I guess that's fair. Thief reduces the critical chance from 9% from 11%. That's going to be hitting a lot of the meta right there. Tower increased it to 2,028 from 1,320, same as Magicka. The Warrior increased the weapon damage to 238, same as they did up here with the spell damage. Shadow and Ritual remain unchanged. So, again, this is definitely going to affect the meta a bit. Now you have other ways you can get spell penetration, magic or physical and spell penetration. It's interesting that they put this here under the Lover. because now you can use this and your sharpened as two ways to bring that up. Choiceborn Star is going to be popular. Maybe. I definitely think that's going to have an effect here. But we've also got changes to traits we should discuss as well. So, general combat fixes. An effort to reduce the visual effects and noise to the group combat situations. We've hidden most visual effects from persistent damage area effects effect abilities cast by your allies. Area effect abilities that have synergies, healing, or defensive components that can benefit you will still be visible, and area effect abilities cast by enemies will still be visible as well. So here's a full thing here. But this makes sense as a way to get rid of some of the lag, especially some of the processing and visual lag they have. So this is a pretty good change, I think. Some of the pets no longer despawn and respawn when attempting to follow you. Fixing an issue where you permanently summon pets such as Unstable Familiar and Wild Guardian would cause you to unsheath your weapons every time you zoned into a new area. That's minor, really. Fixing an issue where you have different cooldowns for cooldown buff for Spear Shards and Necrotic Orb. Sending your combat pet to attack. Default Y left click. Now waits until your pet reaches it to start combat. Non-combat pet names are now more accurately reflect the creature's name. Now this kind of deals with a few other things here as well. Dragon Knight, Draconic Power, Dark Talons. Fixed an issue with its abilities and morphs no longer were not displaying its visual effects if they were the killing blow on the enemy. Weapon two-hander, Reverse Slash. Fixing an issue with its ability and its morphs would grant slightly less than 300% damage bonus if the target was at 1% health. Destruction Staff. Added new icons for each elemental variants of Destructive Touch, Wall of Elements, and Impulse, so it's going to be more pretty now. Fixing an issue with Lightning Staff. We're not commanding your pets to attack the group. Wall of Elements. Fixed an issue where the ability and its morphs were not displaying correctly in the tooltip. Restoration, healing ward. Fixed an issue with this ability and its morphs could be cast in environmental traps. Armor, light armor, dampen magic. Fixed an issue with this morph would display an extraneous buff icon. Guild, Fighters Guild, Silverbolts. Fixed an issue with this ability and its morphs would hide the visual weapons. Your weapons visuals for slightly longer than the abilities animations. World Werewolf, Roar. Fix the issue where this ability and its morphs were not displaying the buff icon of their off-balance effect. Itemization balance. Oh, fun times. Okay, so a lot of stuff is going to get changed here. Traits are going to get changed around. Again, they're coming back and they're kind of centering things to be a little bit more balanced. So certain traits and certain munduses are no longer like you have to have sharpened, you have to have precise. Anything else is absolute shit. This is better now. So first, decisive, increasing generate. Oh, sorry, I should also mention this is for our two-handed gold quality items here. Decisive. Increase the chance to regenerate one additional ultimate by 40% from 34%. Okay. Defending. Reduces spell and physical resistance granted to 2,752 from 5160. So that's definitely a good reduction here. Defending is no longer like just a meta for light armors to get through and not use heavy armor. Infused. Increase the bonus granted from the applied enchantments from 30% from 20%, and increase the cooldown reduction applied to the enchantment from 50% from 40%. Nernhoned. Increase the bonus to the weapon's damage to 15% from 11%. Powered. Increase the bonus for the healing done to 9% from 7%. Precise. Increase the critical strike chance from 9% from 7%. Sharpened. Reduce the spell and physical penetration granted to 2,752 from 5,060. So basically, defending, sharpened, they're counterbalanced. Charged, intricate, ornate. and training remain unchanged. Prosperous armor trait has been redesigned to give a combat functionality. This is going to be fun. It now grants 11 health, magicka, and stamina recovery as a gold quality item instead of gold gain. That means that you're now going to get 77 regenerations to all your abilities. Put it on top of what willow armor. I think there's going to be a meta coming from that. That's going to be kind of weird. But the other thing that this kind of does is it makes it so Prosperous is not quite as shitty anymore, though. Still curious on how they're going to be. I'm still curious on seeing where some of this comes in here. They reduce the damage from the damage from Oblivion weapon enchantments by 6%. Weapon enchantments no longer proc when the initial attack is dodged. Now let's go up here for a minute and look at the developer comments here. So Prosperous was completely redesigned to give new combat functionality that'd be interesting choice of builds so you can maximize the resource recovery gain. Pairing with Divine's trait with a recovery Mundus will still grant more recovery for that particular set, but Prosperous will grant more recovery overall. So basically, if you want to use, let's say, Twiceborn and get the stamina recovery and the magic recovery, that's fine and all, but using the Divines isn't going to give you any more... it's not going to give you any more bonus on top of anything compared to the Prosperous trait here. Prosperous trait is going to give more on the overall bonus, it's saying. Now, item sets, proc sets. Oh, God. We're going through a change here. This isn't a change that I'm ecstatic about, but it's at least okay. It's come back and they've redesigned it, and the mantra of this is now they want to make it so that proc sets have counterplay to it. So if you see the ability come off, you can dodge, block, or do something to get out of it. The ability now is no longer just, oh, I hit the person and they just immediately get hit by something. So we'll take a look at that. Also, they've changed several other things here. So universally adjusted the values of 1, 2, 3, and 4 opponent species to all item sets. Health, magicka, stamina has been increased by 13.3%. Weapon critical and spell critical has been increased by 55%. Physical spell resistance has been increased by 13.8%. Physical and spell penetration has been decreased by 22%. So this weapon critical here is kind of make up for the loss of the thief. This physical and spell penetration here is probably also to make up for the fact that we have a new Mundus that we can use for the penetration. Any monster summoned by an item set now inherits that any bonus you have. Most notable bonuses are damage done and healing done from passive abilities, major minor buffs, and or the champion system. Minor despawn. Decrease the amount of... Oh, I should also mention here. Any monster summoned now has by an item set now inherits the bonuses you have. That's a good thing here, but I will mention they seem to keep item set monsters summoned by item sets here. They seem to keep them really based in magic rather than stamina, which is kind of disappointing here. I kind of wish they give more stamina based builds. Warden is about the only one that has an okay build for it right now. Even the Sork kind of doesn't get great benefits from their pets in a stamina build, in my opinion. But they're kind of making it different here. This at least gives it something better. Anyways, Bloodspawn, decrease the amount of ultimate generation from 14 from 15. Not that big of a deal. Death's Wind, this item set now grants crowd control immunity for enemies that are knocked back, so it no longer just keeps knocking people back with nothing and then letting people stun them or crowd control them again. Grothar, decreases items damage, decrease the damage as item sets proc by 10%. Same with Lambus. I was expecting that. Because really, these two are kind of a meta set together. Lord Warden, increase the radius of the item set procs by 8 meters from 5 meters. Makes sense. Narrative, increase the damage of this item set proc by 20%. Good to see, because Narrative was on the wayside before. Night Flame, increase the proc chance of this item set from 5% to from 3%, and added a chance for one piece, and changed the one piece bonus to the max magicka instead of max health. So again, this is now an actual. This has a better chance for healers now. It's still not great, but it's still better. Poisonous Serpent, increase the chance of this proc set from 50% from 25%, but decrease the damage to 3,400 poison damage from 6,800 poison damage. Makes sense, and that's gonna really hurt some of those builds. Celine, this item set's proc now displays a hostile telegraphed to enemy players, indicating the area effect. Celtrix, increase the damage to the site item set by 30%. Decrease the time the proc it takes for the proc to erupt to 1.5 seconds from 2 seconds. Increase the cooldown of the item set's proc from 5.5 seconds from 5 seconds. Shadowrend, change this item set's proc to occur when you damage instead of when you deal damage. Sorry. Change this item set's proc to occur when you take damage instead of when you deal damage. Increase the proc chance of this item set from 15% from 5%. Monster summoning by this ability now deals magic damage instead of physical. And increase the duration of the minor maim debuff applied from the item set from to 10 seconds from 5 seconds. So they kind of made it more of a tank or magicka tank build set with this. I'm kind of confused about it, why they went with it, but I guess Templar tanks could probably use that all right. There's a Defiler build now for Stam. Well, Defiler is okay, but it's not a great set. Now, Shadow of the Red Mountain. This item set will now spawn a volcano that erupts after 1 second and will launch a projectile to the closest enemy instead of instantly dealing unavoidable damage. That's going to be interesting, and it's going to really make some of these people that are using proc sets pissed off. Shield Breaker. This item set's proc now only occurs once when you cast a heavy attack from lightning or restoration staff. Slime Craw changes one piece bonus to a double one piece bonus for both weapon and spell critical chance, and instead of health recovery. I think this is now going to be a gank meta for PvP right here. This right here is kind of a dark horse. Because you're getting the critical chance, and if you're not a Nightblade, or even if you are a Nightblade, you're basically getting major or minor force the entire time with this, in addition to your critical. So that's going to be added damage that I think a lot of people are going to be using to bypass the impenetrable stuff going on. Spawn of Mephala. Increase the damage of this item proc set by 5%, and change the one piece bonus for max stamina instead of max health. I think that is going to make it mediocre still. I love Mephala. I love the effect it does. But honestly, for a min-max, I don't think it's going to be that great. I will probably still try to make a build for it, simply because I like the effect it gives and I like doing theme builds, but it's still not enough to make it like a meta. Stormfist. Increases shock damage. This item's proc set by 10%. The physical damage portion remains unchanged. Might be interesting for some Sorks. Swarm Mother. Decrease the cooldown for the item. Decrease the cooldown for this item set from 1 to 1 second from 2 seconds. This is going to be really nice, especially for our Spider-Man build where we jump off a cliff and pull people with us. I think I could probably pull more than one person now with this on. Veladreth. This item's proc set now occurs with a 1 second delay and displays a visual warning to the set wearer when the proc is about to occur. You notice what we're doing here? We're giving delay before the procs go off, and we're giving visual cues so people can block or dodge when they see these abilities about ready to go off. Viper Sting. This item's proc set now deals damage over the 4 seconds instead of being dealt instantly. that's going to kill a lot of gank builds right there. A lot, at least in like the battlegrounds gank builds. That's major right there. And Widowmaker, this one's disappointing to me though. This item sets proc will now drop a spore on the ground in front of you that explodes after 1 second instead of instantly dealing unavoidable damage. I understand this one. I would have recommended, however, they should have made it so that it drops the spore at the ground in front of the target that's just been poisoned and gives them a chance to run back, because I like using Widowmaker on a bow build as a way to get in there. And I actually had a build plan using Widowmaker plus the new poison set that's in Morrowind and using a master bow, which would have been adequate, I think. But now with this, Widowmaker is no longer viable in that fashion. You have to be right up on the target. I really wish they would have readjusted that a little bit. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll actually watch this and agree, but it's just disappointing to me. I understand why they did it. I do agree with the fact they had to give a delay here, but still, I would have wished it would have spawned it on the target. Item sets. Fish a rare issue where the item set procs would critically strike. Good to see. Armor of Truth. This item set's proc will now correctly function when you set an enemy off balance. Galron's Revenge. Fix an issue with this item sets of displaying the wrong name and the death recap. Light Speaker. Fix an issue with item sets with not adding spell damage to the restoration's light or heavy attacks. Ravager. Updates up item sets tooltip to indicate the proc cooldown. Shard of the Lich. Updated the item sets tooltip to more indicate the proc condition. Vestments of the Warlock. Updated the item sets tooltip to more clearly indicate the proc condition. Traits. Infused. Fixed an issue where the infused weapon trait was not reducing the cooldown for the Oblivion damage enchantments. So Oblivion damage got a nerf, but got a buff too. Base game improvements. Ready check no longer required for alliance or groups forming in the group tool. Art and animation. Fix an issue with the collision of the issue and with the variety of the assets, reducing camera clipping in situations where your character would float above the assets. Fixing the issue with the textures issues with various assets. Yada yada. Figure. Just a whole bunch of clipping issues as well. Audio. Fixing audio related game crash. Good to see that. I noticed a lot of the game crashes seem to be related to audio if they do come up. At least nowadays here. Crafting and economy. Learn the recipe and furnishing plan now unlocks the associated skill line. Eating alchemy reagent now still in the first trait now unlocks the alchemy skill line. Correcting an issue where the sound effects for researching a scroll was louder than intended. Fixing an issue with the prevented drain health and gradual drain health potions from dealing damage more than once over the duration. Adjust the icon for poison vulnerability to make it clear for the negative effects. Crafting motif stuff, crafting writ stuff. Add poisons to the roster of alchemy writs. Potion of speed now correctly reduces the cooldown of other potions. Furnishings, master writs, master crypto all pure. You craft if you have any writ vouchers, handed them or banked. Given how you transfer writ vouchers between characters in your accounts. Previously, you had to actually do a master writ for him to show up. Provisioning, reduce the quality of brevity's use required to blue quality furnishings for designs from 3 to 6. Survey reports. Updated furrier traps in the clear to be more consistent. Crown starving crates. PCD storm astronaut transformation no longer intruding collision. Costumes, banners, fixes. Again, nothing here mentions about the actual RNG. I really wish they would. Again, Zoss, I call upon you on this. Please list out the chances for some things to drop. Give us a percentage chance for it to drop. That's something I really feel it's. I mean, if you're gonna tell us it's nothing shady or nothing criminal, then frickin' give us the the drop rates on some of this, please. I mean, they have to do it in China. You might as well do it here. Dungeons and group content. Horverdode at the Firemal will now call fewer additional monsters when aiding during the counter. Reduces damage of Horverdode. The Firemal's ground quake ability. Okay. Trial, Sanctum Ophidian. Added Manicoras to the Serpent Summons for ads will no longer mysteriously disappear for no reason. Good to see. Dungeons and Trials. Improve the treasure chest for veteran dungeons and trials. Now, simple quality chests will never spawn in the veteran dungeons or trials, which significantly improves your chances to get a set item from treasure chests in veteran and dungeon trials. Good to see. Update the number of bosses to ensure that they have a chance to drop the same crafting materials as monster or trophies. Crafting materials or monster trophies as non-boss versions of that monster. Adjust the number of chests that can appear in Gold Tower and Vaults of Madness to match all other dungeons. Reallocated heaviest axe and treasure chests from areas in your group had split up, so you no longer need to backtrack to get all the sacks and chests in a given trial run. Standardizing the appearance of rated heavy sacks and treasure chests in all trials and match Malorcage and the changes in how fabrications. As part of this, we've added heavy sacks to Sanctum Ophidian, which did not previously have any. Oh, good to know. Mementos, fiction issue, we have visual effects. Fiction issue with dodging mud crab balls and generate ultimate. Yeah, that's not good. Eldritch Memory, bunch of book stuff. Housing furnishings, justice system furnishings. Prevent issue that fix an issue that prevents certain stolen furnishings from becoming laundered at a defense. Miscellaneous. Fix an issue will cause players to get kicked for inactivity while watching credits. Fix an issue will cause blue in certain lights sources to be too intense. A bunch of quest stuff here changes. UI clarified the dungeon cooldown to specify that only prevents queuing for a new activity. Fishing issue with too many searches and rapid session message would appear frequently when navigating listings and guild stores. Fishing issue with the conversation window would not open when you're swimming. Fishing issue with deposit withdrawal window would remain on screen even when the banker walked away. Fishing issue with the link achievements would appear behind most UI elements. Fishing issue with the last item junk. Screenshots can now be taken on the character select screen and saved in the folders. Okay, nice. Crown Store. Longer product names in Crown Store now display. Okay. Fixing issue with alignment. Yada yada yada. Gameplay. Fixing issue with the champion UI will break if you change zones while you had pending champion points. Fishing issue where the death rate cap would occasionally not include the name of the creature or player that dealt the killing blow. Added missing icons for ravaged health potions in the death cap. Help tutorials, maps, questings, gamepad mode. Added a quick chat option for thank you. And that's pretty much it, guys. Again, you can find all this on the PTS forums. Public test server. Remember, forums.elderscrollsonline.com. Forums, public test server has all this information here, in addition to any other new stuff here. And if you want to give any feedback, you can do that on here as well. I do recommend people take a look at this on their own, take a look at some of the details, give comments back, give your feedback. If you like the stuff, let Zoss know. If you feel like it needs something added in there, do post. You can't hurt anything except for them to say, well, that's not really a good idea, or we don't think that's in the right direction. They're not going to yell at you or ban you, so go ahead, post. Though, just don't. I should correct that and say be respectful. Don't go over there and just tell them they're idiots. That's not a good way to convince anyone. Anyways, that's Hero of None. That is the 3.1 patch with the Horns of the Reach DLC game pack. Hope you enjoyed. We'll have some more stuff on the channel for you later. In the meantime, and we're done with that, guys.